Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pagan's Pathway. I'm Sheldon, and today we're going to talk about Yule and ways to get your pagan children involved. So, let's get started. So I've come across a lot of people who have children and they're trying to bring them up in the pagan faith or at least have a lot of information available so their children can make a decision on either following one of the pagan sects or not to. And one of those things is having them involved during the holiday time. So today we're going to talk about Yule, or in Lithia it's called Duritainun. And yeah, they have different, some similar traditions and then some not so similar. So I'm going to do just a general wash of cool activities that you can do with your kids or your nieces and nephews or cousins or whatever if you have any children in your life. And so I am grabbing a resource called Pagan Family Values by Kermani, and I'll write that down below. It's a really great resource for those with children. Or who may have children in the future. It talks about the hardships and the great times, and then has some ritual suggestions. So one of the chapters is children in ritual. Don't eat the incense. So it's very lighthearted, but very informative and very wonderfully written. So let's talk about a few things. So a lot of faiths in the pagan umbrella cast a circle during certain rituals, and sometimes this is hard for children to visualize where that circle may end and where it may start. And so one of the suggestions that Kermani gives is to make one of these little ring things. So one, it's a great activity to do with your children. And two, it's a representation of that circle. So you can make it as big as you want and then lay it out. And so your kids can see it and they will know, okay, so we don't pass this right now. And it's great. And then afterwards, what you can do, since it has all that great energy around you, since you did that ritual, or you were just doing like a quick prayer and you wanted to cast a circle so you could just give that representation, all of that like great energy and all that wonderful thoughts and projections of faith and all sorts of things like that kind of go into those rings. And since they're one ring after another, it's a chain that's much stronger than just a single line. And so what a lot of people I've seen do is they will actually take that and then use it to decorate their Yule tree if they keep one, or they'll just use it as decoration somewhere. I went to grade school in a rural area in the American South, and that's very, it's kind of cloistered into just a very Abrahamic faith based situation. So what we would do is we would use these to count down days till Christmas. So you could also do that for Yule. There's no reason not to do that if you want them to see or get excited about Yule coming. So you could totally do that. And I love these things. These are fun. I made this today. I know it's kind of crackerjack, but hey, I needed something to represent it, and I only had a few minutes. Another way to get your kids involved is food. Who doesn't love food? And kids love to help you cook, and they like to see how so many different parts can come together to make something great. And if your children are old enough to like stand with you in the kitchen, or they could mix or anything like that, just so they can see those ingredients come together. That's a great opportunity to talk about a story, and you can use each each ingredient as a different segment of your story. So one of them could be, since flour, if you wanted to make something that's like a dessert, and if flour is one of your main ingredients, you can say, all right, this flour represents the earth, and you can say it came from wheat. Or if you're doing gluten-free, you could say it comes from like rice or soy or whatever. There's a lot of options nowadays. But and you could say that's the earth and that's our foundation. And then the water is another element, and say this represents kind of like us being able to persevere and go through anything that we need to, as long as we're patient, or we can go around it and get around that adversity. And it's cleansing. It mixes things together, and then you could do the oil, and you could do eggs if you eat eggs, and talk about how that binds. You can use flaxseed instead, but that like binds it together, and you could say that's family, because if you are using eggs, it's like a child, it's growing, and you could say that's the beginning of something great, and that brings it together, the whole family. And so all those connections together, the children can see that it's a physical representation. And then once you put it in the oven, you can say this is the love that God and goddess, or any god or goddess, or no god or goddess. You could use, say, magic, if you wanted to use that as an example. You just stick it in and you let it go. You've done everything you can, and now it's that time for that to bake, or for the things that you've put out, the love you put out, or if you use spells, the spell you cast. It's now in its own hands, and so as it bakes, it does its thing. And then once it's done, they can see that representation as a real thing. So it gives them the opportunity to see that there are different things that come together and make a wonderful treat. And that's great for Yule, because you could do a Yule log cake. You could just do some cookies and things such as that. And I've done it with a couple of kids that I used to babysit, and they really enjoyed it. It's a great activity. It's a great way to put the holiday into perspective, and things such as that. And yeah, another activity that I've found is really cool is cutting out like little figures that are like human like, and then they can dress them up. It's kind of like paper dolls. If anyone ever did that as a kid, I know my mom talks about it all the time. But you can do paper dolls, and for that, you can have them decorate it however they want to. And you could just say, so when you think about this time of year, what do you think of? Some people will make elves, or a Santa Claus, if you are in that, if your kids are raised in that mindset, because I know a lot of grade schools will embrace that, that kind of, it's more of a secular thing now, the Santa Claus, elves, North Pole situation. And I don't think, I think that that's fine. I know that when I have kids, Santa Claus will come. Unless I get more hardcore, and I'll just say it's fairies. So you can do that as well. But yeah, have them decorate them as they want, and then you can put them around the house, and they could just be like, oh, cool, it's a reminder of that story that you told. So always have some kind of story mixed with a hands-on activity, because that's how children learn, is they learn by doing. And so if you can do an activity while also having a lesson there, they really get it, really, really get it, especially around this time of year, the Yuletide, because they really see by example. So do some volunteer work with them, and that could be anything from baking cookies, going back to that, the cooking activity, and then using those cookies to give to someone else. It could be another family member, or it could be someone who is less fortunate, or underrepresented, and show that love and that strength of the season. It's a new beginning, and show that you can give something and they can give something. So yeah, I really hope that helped. I know it was only like 3 activities, and they kind of all mushed together, but I think those are the foundational things. As long as it's fun, and you can give a lesson, or like put things into perspective, or give them the opportunity to think for themselves. That's really the big deal, is being able to give them a fresh idea that they can then build on, or decide if that's what they feel. And yes, they are children, but children are so much more cognizant. They know a lot more, things on a different level than a lot of people give them credit. So give them the opportunity to participate. And if you have any suggestions, if you have pagan children or if you're raising them in a pagan household, what do you do around this time, around the Yuletide, to get them involved, to illustrate the stories that you want them to know? And things like that. So please put it in the comments below. I would love to hear them. I'm excited to have children of my own sooner or later once I, establish myself more. Woo! And so, yeah, thank you. Once again, I am Sheldon, and this is Pagan's Pathway. Please follow me on Twitter and on Facebook, and subscribe, of course. Have a great day. Bye.